Well, week two, here we go. Week one went pretty good. I got 4 out of the 5 right. Only a couple surprises. I would say Chuck's outpouring of points was a little higher than I think probably anyone would have thought. Just like I think Mitch's low amount of points was lower than anyone would have thought. The only game I got wrong was Bobbitt losing in horrendous fashion. But that's in the past, and we're here for the present, so let's go. Got a new algorithm that I'm kind of working on to determine game of the week to take some of the bias out. So I'm going to work these in order of that algorithm. I won't tell it to you. But I'm going to start with what I would consider to be the biggest spread for the week. So we're going to start with Chuck versus Josh. No surprise there with Chuck being the top scorer. Everyone's talking about it. I mean, Chuck was not supposed to have running backs, and then boom, running back points in buckets. I mean, he had tons. D'Angelo Williams scored a ton, which I think I talked about in my video last week. I kind of expected that to happen, but no one, including Chuck, could have expected Theo Riddick to do what Theo Riddick did. And I mean, I don't think it's going to continue like that, but he's definitely a viable option in that passing game. The Lions have always passed a lot. I think they'll continue to do that. And he was the top scorer last week, even with poor quarterback play, and he's got good quarterbacks, so that team is dangerous. On the other side, you got Josh. I think Jimmy Garoppolo obviously played better than most people thought, but I think maybe he's a good football player, but maybe not the best fantasy player. He didn't have a ton of points at the end of that game. I don't remember what it ended up being, maybe around 15, 16. That's not what you're looking for in a fantasy quarterback. Looks like he's sticking it out, though. And this week he's going against that tough Miami D, and we saw what they did to Russ Wilson last week. I don't know the status of Jamal Charles yet. I record this pretty early in the week. Even if he does come back, obviously Spencer Ware is going to be a big part of that Kansas City offense. Probably not going to get that kind of week from Alex Smith every week, having to come back and score all those points, touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. And what's he got at wide receiver? So I just don't see this being close. Chuck all the way. Moving on to game 2. Ryan versus Mitch. Ryan, it was just unlucky. 4th most points in the league. It's not about how many points you score. It's about who you score him against, and he just had a bad draw. He ran across that taco train. I did notice that he moved Kelvin Benjamin into his lineup this week, which if he had done that last week instead of John Brown, we would have walked away with a win. So let's see if that changes things this week. David Johnson was obviously the right pick in the first round. He's a stud. And then Mitch on the other side. What a letdown. I mean, wow. No points. Chuck just blew him out of the water. And then as I'm recording this video, it looks like Gurley is benched. Whether that's based on performance in week 1 or whether that's because he's going up against Seattle and that's a little bit of homer, a little bit of matchup, who knows. But DeMarco Murray played well. That's a good sign. Antonio Brown did what Antonio Brown does. Dante Moncrief picked up where he left off with Andrew Luck. So we'll see. We'll see what Mitch does to bounce back, but I'm going Ryan. Moving on to what I considered a game of the week candidate will be Taco versus Mike. Kind of like last week, Mike had a chance against his first amigo compadre, and he took one down. Now he gets another one. So Melvin Gordon, his first 2 touchdowns of his career. He had none last year. Let's see if he can keep that going. A little bit tougher defense this week, but once you taste the end zone, you just want it a little bit more. Carlos Hyde also had 2 touchdowns, so he seems to be facing the right direction in the run game. He's playing 2 quarterbacks this week. Last week he went 4 wide receivers, so a little bit of a change. I think Julio Jones is going to feast this week, so Mike's looking good. On the other side, Taco, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees seem to have been a good strategy on his end. They both went off last week. Adrian Peterson was a huge bust, but as I knew from last year, he is all or nothing. He's going to give you weeks just like that where he does absolutely nothing, and then the next week he could get 220 yards. So it's just what are you going to get that week? Taco's wide receivers actually, they could probably hang with anyone in the league. So I think this is going to be a really good match, actually. But I'm going to go Taco again. So 2-0 to start the season for Taco. Fourth matchup, Dave and Bobbit. I mean, Bobbit, wow. 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 What a terrible, awful, shitty start to your season. I mean, it should be a good team, but it's not. It was a bad luck start, maybe. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you have good players and none of them played well, but maybe you can get a bounce back this week. Des Bryant has to do better. I just don't see how he can't. Same for Sammy Watkins. Tyrod Taylor playing on Thursday Night Football. Let's hope they can get back on track. Same for Carson Palmer. On the other side, Dave, pretty unimpressive debut for the league. Anyone that starts RG3 probably going to have a loss in week 1. So it looks like he, as of this point, is going to be the first one to start 3 running backs this year. Looks like Matt Forte and CJ Anderson are the backs on their team. They both had impressive weeks. So this one was tough, but I'm actually going to stick by Bobbit and hope he doesn't burn me for a second week. And that brings us to this week's game of the week. And I got someone that I'm calling in to announce this one. Take it away.